Welcome back to the channel. We're back on our commander deck profile for Edge of Eternities. Sir Vondam, Sunstar, Exemplar. For a white and a black, we have a Vigilance Menace 2-2, where whenever another creature you control dies or is put into exile, put a +1/+1 counter onto Sir Vondam, and you gain a life. And worse, when Sir Vondam dies or is put into exile while its power is 4 or greater, destroy up to one target non-land permanent. So we have plenty of ways to blink our creatures in order to make sure they go into exile and come right back, getting those +1/+1 counters onto Sir Vondam. Plenty of ways to make sure you can swing in because he does have Vigilance and Menace, so it tends to be pretty easy to swing in with him and still have him up as a blocker. And then plenty of ways to also make sure we blink Sir Vondam so that we could use that ability again and again, have him blink, have him come back as a blink him while he's a 4/4, destroy something, have him come back as a 2/2, blink 2 other things, have him come back and do it again and again. But let's get into it card by card. We have Arcane Signet for some mana, as we do with most decks. Ashnod's Altar. This benefit does also happen whenever a creature dies, so rather than our opponent removing our stuff, we could also sacrifice our stuff in order to make sure that we can get some mana off of it while we're at it. Kadusha's Staff of Hermes. It doesn't necessarily care how Sir Vondam gets up to 4 power or greater, so we give it +5/+5, giving it indestructible on top of that, so we can have it get removed on our own terms and then potentially have it blinked. Also gives us a lifelink, allowing us to Vigilance Menace and lifelink. Conjurer's Closet, another way to blink our first way to blink our creatures, in order to make sure that we could have them exiled, get those +1/+1 counters on Sir Vondam. Lightning Grease, sometimes Sir Vondam can get a lot of +1/+1 counters on him the turn he comes down, so we may as well put the Lightning Grease on him so he could also swing that turn. Also, nice little added layer of protection with the Shroud. Orsouth Signet for some mana. Panharmonicon. When we blink our stuff, it does come back, so we get those enter the battlefield abilities, so we may as well double up on the good ones. Soul Ring for some mana. Swiftfoot Boots. Another layer of protection with a Hexproof, along with a haste to make sure Sir Vondam can swing. Sword of Heart and Home, getting us the land, getting us a creature blinked, getting us a little bit of extra stats, getting Sir Vondam up to that 4/4 right away, allowing us to blink him, getting a bit of removal if we need it as well, if he's the one we decide to exile with its ability. And then Talisman Hierarchy for that additional mana. Then for our creatures, we have Abdel Adrian, Gorion's Ward. Whenever this creature enters the battlefield, exile any number of non-land permanents you control until this card leaves the battlefield. Create a 1/1 soldier token for each permanent that was exiled this way. Exile plenty of things we control in order to buff up Sir Vondam quite a bit, getting us that 4 power greater, allowing us to get that removal, or just, banish Sir Vondam. And then also when we want to, we could also sacrifice this with Ashnod's Altar. A Curse Marauder, an easy source of removal for our opponent's stuff. Sometimes they may only do one thing, and we don't really care about our one thing getting sacrificed because we'll just sacrifice a Curse Marauder, or potentially have this come back in some way, shape, or form with other cards we may get to later. And then we just get more +1/+1 counters on Sir Vondam. Charming Prince, a creature that likes to be blinked so that we could blink our other stuff in order to get those 2 +1/+1 counters on Sir Vondam right away. Company Commander. Whenever this creature enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 soldier creature token based on your number of opponents. I mean, those are also good sources to sacrifice with Ashnod's Altar, but also this is just a really good ability from when it enters. And when this attacks, creatures you control gain Death Touch till end of turn, making it even harder to block Sir Vondam for our opponent there. Corpse Knight, whenever another creature you control enters, each opponent loses a life. We're going to be blinking our stuff. Stuff will be entering all the time. So we may as well double up on it. Speaking of doubling, we may as well deal damage off it. But speaking of doubling up on it, if a permanent entering the battlefield causes an ability to happen, it happens an additional time. Permanents entering the battlefield don't cause abilities for your opponent's stuff. So cut off our opponent's landfall decks, cut off our opponent's Sir Vondam decks. But also, just overall, just really good ability, making sure we double up our own stuff is really what we care about. Feldar Guardian, another way to blink our stuff in order to put that into exile, in order to make sure it gets blinked again and again, getting those counters on Sir Vondam. Flicker Wisp, in order to blink our stuff, getting off the white, another way to get double up on our enter battlefield abilities, similar to Elish Norn, just doesn't cut off our opponent, so even better. Gilrin, Dunedain Protector. Exile target creature you control. Like to see it. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. If you don't, at the beginning send step, turn to the battlefield under its owner's control. It gains vigilance counter. Also has a lifelink counter. I mean, we just want to blink our stuff. Doesn't matter when. Depends on what we need though at the time. Very Merchant Aspel. Really good enter battlefield ability here. Each opponent loses X life where X is our devotion to black, which is going to be at least 2 based on his own ability, potentially 3 if we have Vondam on the battlefield, but 6 just from having Massacre Worm there. But yeah, we blink this again and again, dealing more and more damage to each of our opponents. Catch most, New Dawn, Menace, Lifelink, Indestructible. Can't attack or block unless you control 7 or more cards in exile. Most of our stuff's not staying in exile, so it's really just its other abilities we care about. Which is whenever 1 or more cards you control are put into exile from graveyards or the battlefield during your turn, draw a card, lose a life. So blink our stuff, draw some cards, like to see it. Helps us get more of our stuff off the top of our deck. Knight of White Orchid, creature that we really like blinking in the set in order to make sure we get more and more lands, because we are in Orzhov, so we do not have that many ways to get lands. Same thing with Loyal Warhand right over here. Lauren to the Third Path, another creature we like to blink. This way, when it does get blinked, we could destroy target artifact or enchantment. Could remove our own stuff in order to get Vondam stronger, but we're going to tend to do, like, if we have an artifact creature like Solemn Lacrum, but we're going to tend to do it to our opponent's stuff, get some additional draw power off of it while we're at it. Massacre Worm enters the battlefield. Your opponent controls creatures your opponent control get -2/-2 to end the turn. Whenever a creature an opponent controls gets removed, that player loses 2 life, burning out our opponent another way other than just Grey Merchant Aspinall. Also making so it's basically a board wipe for our opponent's stuff. Mindara, Merciless Soul. For 4 mana, you get Ward X, where X is the number of experience counters you have. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, which is going to happen because we're going to be blinking our stuff. It's only during our end step though, so be careful with that. Again, experience counter. Creatures control get +1/+0 for each experience counter you have. I mean, potentially just another way to swing in with Vondam a little bit easier. Ophelia, Exuberant Shepherd. Another way to blink our stuff. Like to see it. Restoration Angel, another way to blink our stuff. Rumor Gatherer. Whenever a creature enters, scry 1. And then if it happens the second time, we get to draw a card. We like to draw cards. We like to keep going with our plays. Solemn Lacrum, a really good creature to blink there. Every time we blink it, we get another land. Like, gets removed eventually when we sacrifice with potentially like Ashnod's Altar or something. We get to draw a card. Spirit Companion, another creature we like to blink, because we get to draw that card. Umbral, Collar Zealot, sacrifice another creature or artifact to surveil a card, allowing us to another way to sacrifice outlet in case we need it. Wall of Omens for that draw power, and Welcoming Vampire. Whenever another creature you control with power 2 or less enters, draw a card. I mean, that's just anytime our commander enters, which we're going to be blinking him quite a bit. For our enchantments, we have Far Traveler. Commander creatures you control have at the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 target creature you control, then returns to the battlefield under its owner's control, allowing us to blink our own creatures. Phyrexian Arena for some additional draw power, and Teleportation Circle for an additional instance of those blinks that we need. For our instance, we have Anguish Unmaking for some removal, Cloud Shift for a blink, Dark Ritual for some mana, Eerie Interlude for a blink, Ephemery for a blink, Fake Your Own Death. I mean, we could sacrifice one of our things, have it come back with +2/+0, and then, or just have it, we use this on Vondam, he'll get removed as a 4/2, come back, and just get a treasure token, and we got to remove something in the process. Super good ability there. Flicker of Fate for that blink, Generous Gift for that removal, Getaway Glamour for some blink, and also some removal. Not going to tend to use the removal too much, but you can. Justice Seer's Portal, exile another blink. Lacel's Acrobatics for that blink, Otherworldly Journey, another blink. Parting Gust for that blink, Pant Exile for that removal, Semester's End for another blink, Slip on the Ring for that blink, Solar Splashes for that removal. For our sorceries, we have another round for that blink, Austerious Command for that board wipe, Living Death, making so that we get all of our stuff back from our graveyard, essentially. We could sacrifice it all with Ashnod's Altar, get all that mana, board wipe our opponent, and just get all of our stuff back. Reanimate in order to get our best thing back from the graveyard, Sign Blood for that draw power, and Wrath of God for another board wipe. But that's the video there. If you guys liked the video, make sure you like the video. If you guys have another commander you'd like to see covered, leave it down there in the comment section, or your own thoughts on the deck, or how you'd run it. But thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and subscribe to stay tuned for more. Have a great rest of the day.